Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with random reviews from the Overflow room. And today we have a real treat as we work backwards from the letter O. Three little-known O composers. But oh, they're wonderful. They really are. This is stuff you really should hear. We begin with, and these are all single discs. I wish we had more. I really do. There may be more like in Japan, because two of these guys are part of Naxos's Japanese music edition. First, Hisato Ozawa, who lived from 1907 to 1953. He died of a cerebral hemorrhage shortly after World War II, I believe. What a talented guy this was. He studied at the New England Conservatory with, Roger Sessions and Converse, and he studied with Schoenberg, and he was in Paris, and he has an amazing pedigree. His music was a bit in advance of what the idiom was when he returned to his native Japan, because he'd had all this exposure to the latest currents of what was going on in the West. And so you have bits of Americana, bits of jazz, bits of Ravel, the French, and it's just marvelous. It really is. But it's all somehow subsumed into his own idiom. And here we have his Piano Concerto number 3, Kamikaze. Kamikaze, where it's not the kamikaze, dive bombing ships and committing suicide kamikaze. It's a Japanese commercial aircraft from 1938, which is when this came out. And it's fun. It really is fun. I mean, it's a brilliant piano concerto full of good tunes, and what it has to do with kamikaze civilian aircraft, I don't know, and it doesn't matter. And Symphony number 3, the Symphony of the Founding of Japan, is from 1937. And again, what it has to do with the founding of Japan, what difference does it make? It's just an enjoyable work, well crafted and intelligently planned, and you'll really have a good time listening to it. Ekaterina Sarantseva, piano, is quite fine, along with Dmitry Yablonsky and the Russian Philharmonic on Naxos. They couldn't have known the music well. I review this in more detail on ClassicsToday.com. You can go and look up that review. As is also true of this guy, Hiroshi Ohguri. Now, Hiroshi Ohguri had a longer life. He lived from 1918 to 1982. And he was born and takes his inspiration from the folk music of his native Osaka. He was promoted by Asahina, the great Japanese conductor, because he also had the Osaka Philharmonic. He was their native guy. He's kind of like the Japanese Kodai. That's who he most resembles, I think, in the sense that his handling of folk music is just permeates his musical language, and it's very confident and full of fun. And this has got some wonderful stuff on it, this disc. The Violin Concerto, which is really brilliant and very passionate in the slow movement. It's a beautiful work. Really a beautiful work. I mean, people should play it. It's well played here by Kazuhiro Takagi. Thank you. My apologies to Mademoiselle Takagi. Anyway, it's really fine. It's really, really fine. And then you've got the Fantasy on Osaka Folk Tunes, which is like the Dances of Galanta or something like that, if you know your Kodai. And the Legend for Orchestra, which is wonderful. Oh, it's a tone poem. It should be in every single fabulous orchestral repertoire in the world, after the tale of Ama no Iwayado. This is the orchestral version of 1977. Oh, this is fun. It's a tone poem that tells a story about how the sun god's brother shows up, and he's so obnoxious that the sun god locks himself behind a cave, behind a rock. And so the sun goes out. So everyone gets so concerned that they try and lure the sun back out. And they do it by having some sort of naked, nubile, dancing nympho thing. And finally, he pops back out, and everybody's happy. It's delicious. It's a wonderful, wonderful little tone poem. And the Rhapsody in Osaka Nursery Rhymes, which, as you might expect, is just full of charm. Wonderful disc with the hometown team, the Osaka Philharmonic, under Tatsuya Shimono. And this is one of the best in the Naxos Japanese orchestral music series, Japanese music series. It's really, really, really wonderful. Give it a shot. You won't be sorry. And then, oh yeah, Maurice Ohana. I love this guy. Maurice Ohana was a French avant-garde composer. He lived from 1914 to 1992. He didn't write too much music, and most of his stuff is for strange forces, strange, collections of forces. He was completely opposed to musical dogmatism of any kind, and he had a very eclectic birth. His father was a British Jewish something, and his mother was like something Spanish, and he became French, and basically he's French, and he was born in Morocco, I believe, and he took his inspiration from that sort of part of the world, that North African and Iberian canto, hondo, flamenco stuff, and that's all of his influences. But his music itself was extremely avant-garde. I mean, it was electroacoustic in places, and he used microtones all over the place. I just think he's wonderful. He's a real original with a distinctive voice. And there are 3 discs of his stuff on timpani, if you could still find it. And this one is an older disc on accord, universal accord, as opposed to CD accord, which is a different label. So let's see what we have here. We have the Tombeau de Claude Debussy for soprano, piano, cithara, and chamber orchestra. And with Silvia Soule, soprano, and Christian Ivaldi, piano, and Laurie Morabito, cithara. And you've got Silencière for 6 percussionists and strings, and the Chiffre de Clavecin for harpsichord and chamber orchestra. He used the harpsichord quite frequently and wonderfully, as a contemporary instrument, with Elizabeth Choynachka, whatever her name is. Anyway, it's the Luxembourg Philharmonic under Arturo Tamayo. And these are wonderful recordings. They really are, of a really distinctive artist. This is his, let's see, second disc. Cello Concerto No. 2. He wrote 2 of them. Taharanungo for orchestra. I have no idea how to pronounce it or what it means, but it's 17 minutes and 11 seconds long, and it's marvelous. And his piano concerto. We have Sonia Vider Atherton, cello, Jean-Claude Pennetier, piano, and the same Luxembourg forces under Tamayo. So that's disc number 2. Disc number 3, Livre des Prodiges for orchestra, 24 minutes long. Yeah, great. Let's see, and Anneau de Tamaret, the Ring of Tamaret for cello and orchestra. And then Synaxis for 2 pianos, 4 percussion soloists, and orchestra. And, his music often has this primal primitivist element that's it's so exciting. I mean, I used to think it was like Amazonian, South American, but it's not. It's him. It's just Ohana. And he's a composer really worth getting to know if you like good avant-garde stuff. By a real original voice. And then the last disc here has his poems of Garcia, the Llanto por Ignacio Sanchez Mellas, the lament for Ignacio Sanchez Mellas from 1950. It's a big song cycle recital thing. I mean, it lasts, it's let's see, 12, 24, 25, 26, plus 15. It's 42 minutes long in 4 movements. It's based on 4 poems. And we have, let's see, Mauricio Molho, reciter, Bernard, who's this? Cotre, baritone, Denise Guarne, harpsichord. It's got a harpsichord solo, or a harpsichord part in it. Well, the saraband for harpsichord and orchestra definitely has the harpsichord part. And the Orchestra des Cento Soli under Ataulfo Argenta. So this is a classic recording. It was recorded in 1954. Wow. There's so much stuff out there to discover. Let's just put this aside for a second and just make the observation. Really wonderful music that needs to be discovered. Music that's going to be connoisseur stuff. It's never going to have a popular following, but it's really good music. And Ohana is one of those composers. Just a wonderful, distinctive voice. And 20th century music. So get to know him if you can, and get to know these two Japanese composers too. They are splendid. This is what the random reviews from the Overflow room is all about, right? I mean, gosh, that's cool. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.